Here we go, Periscope. We're good to go again. Alright, let's see. Alright, Periscope. Now we need to go live onto Facebook. So let's go. Well, we gotta title this on Facebook. So we're gonna close this and we're gonna reopen on Facebook. Alright, so like I say, you gotta give it a title. So let's do that. GodSpokesman.com. Mom and Dad. Where are they? Heaven or hell? Okay. All right. We're loading up on Facebook Live, and we're about to go live. All right. Let's see. Preview live. Okay. Alright, looks like everything's working on Periscope and Facebook Live. Alright, so welcome everyone again out there. Hey Mom?
Yeah.
The coffee thing, alright, please. So, I'm Missionary Norman Etker, and I'm here in Missouri, broadcasting again today. Alright, hey, hi there, Periscoper. Again, I'm in Missouri, and it's out here. Here we go. Who we got there? Happy, oh no, Happy Lemur. Alright, I guess that's what that said. Hey, welcome. You're on, I'm right here in Missouri. I'm a Protestant Christian missionary, been one for 40 years. Believe only in the Protestant Christian Bible. I don't represent any church, all right? Just this book. I know. Okay, good. So we can cut to the chase on Periscope. We're on Facebook Live, so you know the routine up there. All right. Today we're going to talk about you and your mom and dad. Facebook Live and Periscope. Where's your mom and dad at today? If they're still living, okay. If they're not, me, yeah, you, sure. Why not? Hello, you're here. Where's your mom and dad? At work. Okay. So, and your grandparents, I guess they're still alive yet, correct though? Yes? Periscoper, your grandparents still alive too, right? Yes or no? But anyway, your great-grandparents, yes, okay. But your great-grandparents are not alive, right? They're passed on, right? Your great-grandparents on your mother and father's side. All right? I'm pretty sure they would be gone, okay? All right, so anyway, we're talking about your family, yours, and all people on Periscope, not just you, okay? And all people on Facebook Live, too. As you know, we're broadcasting two ways today. Here we are. We're on Facebook, and we're broadcasting live on Periscope. All right, let you take a look. You can see we're broadcasting on both. They're both live streaming right now on Facebook. And, of course, Facebook is at Norman Etker, all right? In Asia, being a foreign missionary most of my time, I've been around outside of the United States culture a lot. All right, so I gotta, you know, if you're ever around, thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
And the best way I can explain how I think about things is if you were raised in a military family and your dad or mom traveled around the world, stationed at different places. and you become known as an international type person. And most of the time, they are more broad-minded because they've had more life experiences. And that's a part of growing up and all this stuff about going overseas, trying to find your life, doing the Orient Express trip, you know, through India and Thailand, Indonesia, Australia, going through the outback if you can afford it. You know, it's all about trying to find yourself. Okay, so in Asia, one of the things that is predominant, and even in Mexico, the 7 years I lived in Mexico too, it's the same thing as in Asia, is the ancestral worship. Now here in the States, we don't really understand that so much because we don't relate to that ancestral worship thing. We don't think of it in that terms, all right? Because the predominantly Judeo-Christian value doesn't delve into that at all, really, except that it's a heathen, paganistic practice of preparing wealth and fortune so that in the afterlife you have a good journey in the afterlife. And if you don't prepare physically by earning a lot of money and merit in this world, then in the afterlife it'll be a turbulent, and the turbulence from the afterworld affect the relatives of the people in this world. And that's where you get the shamans and witch doctors and all rest of the stuff. That's where it all comes from. They'll go into a little trance, and the monk that I work with do the same thing. They get on a spirit horse and they ride into the spirit world, and the spirit tells them, okay, you need to offer a cow, a pig, or whatever. Everything's going to be a little bit better in your situation, whatever it is. Okay, so, and in spirit worship, ancestral spirit worship, all the blood kin have a role to play. In the Chinese, it can go on for generations. And so these soothsayers, fortune tellers, witch doctors, shaman, they pretend to go into the generational spirit world and find out what's going on. And you got a little problem back here in 9 generations, and it's passing down to you now and your child or whatever. They can make it up, and people buy it. They'll kill 1,000 people to get a little piece of a rhino horn because it's supposed to be some magical quality. I'm exaggerating about killing 1,000 people, but they probably would, though, too. I mean, it's crazy what people, humans, will believe. United States educated people are the same way. They're crazy. They'll believe anything. Why? I have no idea. No idea. Why people believe they're from a monkey? Why not believe they're from a god? An animal has no brains, right? Now people believe they come from a mud pit, or they're a big bang explosion, or some happen chance thing crawling and all of a sudden bump their head on rock and learn how to talk and walk, and it's goofy ideas. But man is known to be stupid, all right? And yours truly too, all right? I've been called a lot of names, all right? So here we go. Ancestral worship. So what people do now, I mean, they do it all over in Asia and in Mexico too. But in the United States, it's not predominant. What's predominant in, I'll give you a good example, in Mexico, it's the same thing over in Asia too, is that they have, every year they have ceremonies for the dead people in the cemeteries. The Roman Catholic, this satanic ritual cult that's practiced in the Roman Catholic cult, demonic church, is that you cannot, in Mexico, you cannot believe how the people will flock to those cemeteries and just heaped off flowers on their parents, grandparents, whoever, aunts, uncles. I mean, and they'll pray, and they'll pray, and they'll pray. Okay? All with the intention that they're honoring their ancestral spirits that they believe that they can actually communicate with to bring good karma, to bring good things to their life. Now, in America, we don't see it so much. It's practiced, but it's not heavy duty like in other countries. It's predominant in other countries, but in America. But the devil, Satan, is cunning as a fox. He's not stupid. He's been conning people millennial after millennial, right? So what we got today is, when you talk to the millennials today, you ask them about their parents and all that, and family structure and that. It's important, but it's not as important as them. The millennial, this generation of young people called the millennials, their focus is an inward focus on their life because they're so intelligent. We have this group of people growing up now, the millennials, 18 to 30, somewhere in there. These are the brightest, sharpest guys on the blocks in the world. The millennials, all over. They're more educated. They are so sophisticated compared to me, let's say the boomer. I'm 71. Man, they outshine me left and right? But their life is not centered on anything of the past so much. It's centered on themselves. Now, I'm going to try to explain to you how that ancestral demonic worship ties into the millennials of today. I'm talking about the global millennials. And I think the global millennials would be, the United States is worse than any other country as far as the millennial ancestral worship thing goes. All right, because millennials in the States are born free. And if you're not born free, you'll never understand that. If you're born in England, we got a queen and all that kind of stuff. Or in Asia, where you got kings and queens and all kinds of leadership in government that they consider deities, that they're like gods. And this is the truth. In Thailand, they got laws. If you say something against a king or a queen in Thailand, you go to jail. And they'll throw you in there so fast your head will spin. I mean, because they're so deceived by evil in paganistic countries. Why do you think Islam is so radical in the Roman Catholic Church? These people are radical. They're fanatics to the worst degree. This Pope Francis is a Jesuit. He's the most radical imam pope they ever had. These Jesuits, they don't play. They are the devil's tools, and they've been for years. These Jesuits have incorporated every evil kind of worship that heathen and pagans do, incorporate bits and pieces of it into the Catholic Church. Before you know it, you're praying to bones and dead people and trees and whatever. Blessing fishing, blessing tree cutting, blessing this, it's all demonic. It means nothing. A man has no power to control anything, okay? Brazil, hi Brazil. So we're talking about millennials, ancestral worship. Ancestral worship, so the question to ask when you're sharing how to be spiritually born again and be a follower of Jesus in an Asian country, when you read these verses, which I'll read to you, when you read these and an Asian person hears these verses, listen to these verses. Jesus said, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment." Now most people say, "Oh, wow, I can do that." But listen to what Jesus said also. Matthew 10. The book of Matthew, the New Testament, 10th chapter, 34th verse. Jesus saying, "Think not that I came to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." Whoa! What's this Jesus guy about? Now, mind you, in Asian culture, you are, from the time you can walk, you're commanded to obey your parents, and especially your ancestral relations, and making offerings to them year after year after year for their blessing from the afterworld. This is no joke. This is true life. They believe it. All right? Now, I'm going to tie this into ancestral worship and the millennials today. Also, when you talk to someone in Asia and you read what Jesus said to them, they're going, wow, this is heavy duty. I come to set a man at variance against his father and daughter, and against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's foes, enemies, shall be those of his own household. Listen to this. This is chapter 10 of Matthew, verse 37. He that loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Wow, this Jesus guy's incredible. Jesus continues, he that taketh not his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. And he that finds his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. So now, do you think that the Asians are saying, you mean, here's what they say to me on the mission field, you mean you want me to become a Christian, and that because my mom and dad, who are good people, didn't believe in this Jesus, then they're burning in hell? And you're saying, missionary, if I don't love Jesus more than any of my own parents, then I'm going to hell too, because I won't become a follower of Jesus, because I won't love God with all my mind, heart, soul, and my neighbor, and I won't love him more than my own mother and father, that the foes and my enemies are going to be those of my own family, that Jesus came to send a sword? You think I want to become a Christian missionary? No way, Jose. So they go on. Now, you've just heard this is a real issue on the mission field. Now, in the United States, you don't hear this, but I'll tie it in to the millennials and ancestral worship. So in Asia, that's a big deal to say your mom and dad are burning in hell, because you're cutting all the links off to the other world, to the afterlife. You're renouncing all of that is demonic and an untruth and a total waste of time, making all these offerings to get good karma, to gain merit, to help you in your present life. People in Asia don't want to hear that. They're conditioned, they're trained to be subservient, especially to the patriarchal side of the family, to the father. All right? And the father holds the purse strings, and he'll dole out the money to them kids. Them kids know if they want money, they're going to have to obey their father. And they control it just like that. And that son grows up doing the same thing. And of course, they got a little girlfriend on the side. That's a common thing in Asia too. Being married, of course. But yet the mother gets this respect and all this, but she knows what's really going on too. In Thailand, it's a commonplace. Everybody's shacked up with somebody else. Being married, that is too. It's common. ordinary. The prince, the king's son, does it. It's on the news every other time. So, here we have ancestral worship. So when the missionary comes and reads the words of Jesus about you got to love him more than your own mother and father, they can't. And if they don't believe that, then they're going to go to that lake of fire too, because the Protestant Christian Bible cut through all the dogma. It's about going to heaven or hell. So they listen to the gospel message and they say, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, so they don't. And that's what's going on. So in America, in civilized, or I shouldn't say civilized, but Judeo-Christian ideas floating around, whatever they might be, whatever the figment of someone's imagination is, Judeo-Christian values, the true meaning of the word is that they follow the truths of Jesus, the apostle and evangelist, in the Protestant Christian Bible, New Testament. That's Judeo-Christian values. There's no church in the United States that does that. All churches in the United States, across all denominational lines, independent, non-denominational, little independent groups, whatever, Amish, Mennonite, you think they follow this book? Well, you're wacky. They follow their own church traditional writings, whoever writes it. That's what they follow. That's what they do. You try to find a person that says they're a Christian, you won't find it. You'll find everything else in between. Oh, I'm Presbyterian, I'm Baptist, I'm Amish, I'm Mormon, I'm Jehovah's Witness. Oh, I'm a Messianic. I'm Jews for Jesus. Ignorance, because all of them do one thing. All Protestant denominations in 2017 have one thing in common. They all refuse what's the right for mankind to God. And what is the right of God to mankind? What is the right mankind to God? Man has, okay, you're going to get me off topic, but I'll answer it. Man has no rights. Got that? Man has no rights. That's a bunch of fooey that men wrote that you have some inalienable right, especially in the United States. People actually believe that the Constitution is from God or something. Man, all human beings on this planet have no rights. None. Zero from God. Hey, hi there. Okay. Old man, yes. 71, kicking. All right, still above ground. All right, Facebook Live. You are real, I guess. Okay, name the exact date of the beginning of the Second World War. Hey, Google it. Dummy. Hey, I love dummies. Hey, look, I got something for you. You remind me of this bird. You know what this bird is? It's a dodo bird. That's a dodo bird question. Okay. All right, here we go. So, we're back to our topic. All right. So, listen up. Quit texting. Dodo. That's right. That's you, bud. Dodo. All right. But we love dodos. Okay. So, in the United States, the millennials and ancestral worship. When you talk to a millennial today, generally, it's not about the future. It's not about their mommy and daddy. The millennials are thinking about number one. So, in the church, in the Protestant religionist churches in America, irregardless of how many, I heard that God's right to worship only Him, and that mankind's right is God will not torture them if they didn't worship Him. Well, you can make up anything you want, okay? So, today, ancestral worship. When you talk to people today that say they are a Christian, and you ask them this question: do you love God with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength? Okay? And they'll say things like, well, yeah, I'm a Christian because I confess Jesus as my Lord. Oh yeah, I'm a Christian because I go to church. Do I love God with all my heart? Yes, I try every day because I'm just a sinner. But I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can do. That's what you hear the so-called Christians, general of the world, will say. They'll tell you they're sinners. They'll always be a sinner, and never going to. You can just do the best you can, but you're going to sin. You're just no sinner. All right. Now listen to what Jesus said. Incest and camel were straight and faith in Allah, and we will have a hugging crash in hell. You're a ding-a-ling. All right. So, and we love ding-a-lings. Don't forget. All right. Here we go. Think not that I come to send peace on the earth. I come not to send peace but a sword. And then Jesus said, for I come to set man at variance against his father, against his mother, and daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. A man's foe shall be they of his own household. He that loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Okay? So this is in Matthew 10. These are the words of Jesus. So today in the millennials' ideal of things, and in the church world today generally, in the United States and globally, you will not hear these scriptures read. You won't hear it. You will hear the doctrines of man. But the millennial especially is not going to say, I have to love God more than me, myself, and what I think is cool, Snapchat and all. You mean Instagram, you mean Twitter, you mean Facebook. Come on, it's all about me. That's the millennials, okay? But now it's a global, it's about me movement called millennialism. About me. And how I can change the world by having flash mobs appear and disappear and protest this and this and this and that, and we together, a group, can change, do anything. That's kind of the simple mentality of everything. If we can't get our way, we'll throw a little tissy fit. And when they grow up, they do the same thing. They call them wars. Covert operations. It's the same. So the millennials are nothing but the little kids of the people that's going to do all of it anyway. Again, I mean, we are so dumb. We do the same dumb things over and over and over. Why? Because the religionists today, the ancestral worship, people refuse to what? To do what Jesus said. Jesus said to love God with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength, and your neighbor. That's the truth from Jesus. He said, I come to bring a sword. You got to love Jesus, the God-man Jesus, more than anything else. But people take this particular writings of Jesus and just tear it up. They don't want to hear that. So the ancestral worship is not, in the millennial eyes, for their mom and dad. They're still living, or the grandparents that are past, or great-grandparents. But they're listening to themselves. And they inadvertently don't realize that they're worshiping themselves. That if I can just feel good about myself, feel good at what I'm actually emotionally doing right now in my life, I'm going to be good. I'll have enjoyment, whatever that is. When Jesus comes along, he says to the people, love me more than your own mother and father. The millennial says, well, I'm not into that. I'm into myself. Yeah, I love my mom and dad, but really life is about me. That's millennials. It's about them. So the ancestral worship is just reversed in the U.S. Instead of to the dead people in the afterlife, it's to the alive people that are walking the planet right now. Them. They are in love and worship them, their movement, their age, their freedom, their liberty. This ancestral worship works. The devil is not going to pass a chance to drive people away from the word of the Lord, and the word of the Lord is, Jesus said, to love God with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength. If you millennials went to your mother and father right now and opened up the Bible, the Protestant Christian Bible, English version, first translated into English in 1500 AD, go to Matthew 10 and Matthew 22 and read that to them. Listen to what they will say to you. That's a challenge. Read those verses to you. You will hear your Gen X parents, Generation X, millennials, explain these verses away. That it doesn't mean what it says. It means something totally different. Ancestral worship. People don't want to believe the words of Jesus, the Protestant Christian Bible. That's why in the United States of America, you will never hear these verses read and explained for exactly what they mean. Because if you love Jesus more than anything else, more than your own family, then that counterfeit church with their pastor and with their doctrine and their youth groups will never succeed, because they won't get your money. Because you'll love the word of the Lord, and you'll realize that the so-called building with the cross on the top that you're going to is a fake. Let me tell you, people want power and control over your life. That's the call of the cult every time. People, I can't tell, I've been saying this over and over, people today, for some strange reason, if they're thinking about God, if they're thinking about Jesus, they got this idea that they got to go to a building with a cross on the top to find out. And they walk in like a dummy and just believe any Tom, Dick, or Harry says anything or any opinion, whatever, they don't care. They think they're being humble, they're being dumb. Because the only truth you're ever going to find is when you open up the book, the Protestant Christian Bible, the only divine inspired word from God to man. You're going to read, and when you get to that New Testament, the New Covenant, the truths of Jesus, the Apostle and Evangelist, those are the ones that are binding for the spiritually born again person today. You're going to read those truths, and you're going to say, just like the Asian, when he hears you got to love God more than your own mother and father, and he's into ancestral worship and all that about honoring your mother and father, great-grandparents, great-uncles, it goes on and on. They got to forsake all that, saying their ancestry's burning in the lake of fire, in hell, if they believe this Jesus. And that's the very same thing today. There is no difference today. People are burning in hell, and others thinking they're in some kind of paradise. Hold on a second, I got to plug this computer back in. I got it unplugged. If I don't do this, I'm going to have an issue. All right. All right. I couldn't figure out why my picture was getting dim in Facebook Live. I run on my battery. All right, here we go. So today, millennials, you're held to the same standard that I am. Okay? I'm 71. Okay? I became a Christian when I was 28. But let me tell you, I can remember a verse I heard back then, way back in the day. And the verse I heard was that the first shall be last, and the last shall be first in the kingdom of God. And I can remember hearing that, and I say, and at that time when I was 28, that's when I first got saved, right? Okay. I said, wow, I'm the first. I was the last guy, now I'm the first guy. I accept Christ, loving Jesus with all my mind, heart, soul. Boy, I'm a happy camper, right? On fire, and been on fire, okay, all my life. You know, and I thought, wow, and you just can't imagine what that feels like when the love, God's love through grace comes into your life, loves you, forgives you, accepts you, coexists, the Holy Spirit coexists with your spirit inside your physical body, and your mind begins a renewing process. When this spiritual rebirth happens, it's real. That's why I can continually come back to you guys. Because your lives are boring. Let's be honest here. You don't have a life. You might think you go to school, you might have your degree, you might be some IT guy, you might think you're the lawyer, you might think you're this, the doctor, scientist. You got the DD behind your name, the REVs or whatever. Dentist, nurse, doctors, firemen, laborers, electrician. You think your life is pretty much set. You have nothing if you don't have Christ. You will not find Christ inside any Protestant Christian church. And for the life of me, for 40 years, I can't figure out why people keep going to those places. They have their own writings. They have their own sets of beliefs that are absolutely contrary to the writings of Jesus, the apostle and evangelist. But people, educated, dumb people, and we love educated, dumb people, don't have a clue because they're sinful and they don't want to give up the right to themselves to the lordship of Jesus Christ. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. You millennials are no different from me. You got to walk the walk, just like I do. I'm not in this, and I'm not going to heaven by the skin of my teeth. I'm going to heaven because I'm faithful to the Lord Jesus each day of my life. Don't you think I can't turn and walk the other way in life if I wanted to? There's no constraint on me to force me to be a follower of Jesus, to continue for 40 plus years at this. And this is not some side thing for me. This is my life. God said to love Jesus with all your mind, heart, soul, or Jesus said to love the Father with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength. And then your neighbor. It's not an option. It's not something you're going to learn or work into. You're going to either do it or you won't. You'll love God or you won't. You'll obey God or you won't. You understand, it's the grace of God that brings you to this thing that you will decide. You and you alone. There's no third party involved. There's no minister, no Sunday school teacher, no evangelist, no arena, no emotional going to the altar and ball a tear or something. Forget all that. If you think you got to raise your hand and say you love Jesus and recite some sinner's prayer, you're kidding yourself. The real test comes in your life when you can look in the mirror and look in your own eyes when you're alone and say, I love Jesus with all my heart, with all my mind, and all my soul, and my neighbor. And let me tell you, if you don't have God's love and forgiveness and Jesus as your Lord, you can't do it. Where are you going? Your life right now, you guys, everybody's listening to me now on Facebook Live and Periscope. Your life, you're in a religious room and there's no light. You're just bumping into each other. You know, Snapchat is kind of unique. Snapchat just takes a picture in time. If you could take a Snapchat of all the millennials in the world, you'd see them all jammed up in one dark room, bumping into religious walls, bumping into philosophies blindly. Nobody's seeing. If you could Snapchat all the millennials, it'd be like they're all in one big dark room. And you know how you got this little slot you see in the movies about the jail people, right? You open up that slot and look in the cell where they're at. Well, when you open up the slot to let light into the millennial, the light is from Satan, deception. Do you think, you millennials, you think that you're going to get a pass? Oh, I don't have to be responsible. I'm living with mom and dad. I just got to do what my mom and dad say, and my life is okay because my mom loves me. My dad loves me, and I know that they love me, and I know everything's going to be okay. And if I treat them right, then my life is going to be good. No, you're going to the lake of fire and brimstone along with your mother and father because you refuse to believe in Jesus. When I say believe in Jesus, I'm talking about believe what he says you should do. Love God with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength, and your neighbor. And if you've been genuinely spiritually born again, loving God with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength, loving God, loving him more, loving Jesus more than your own mother and father, realizing that Jesus bringing a sword, the worst enemies you're going to have will be in your own family. When you realize all that, when you're in that, you know that you've been spiritually born again because of the love you have in your heart from God for all people. You remember those verses where Jesus is talking to the people that want to follow him? The guy says, oh, I'll follow you, Jesus, but let me go bury my dad first. And Jesus said, let them go dead, bury their dead. Why do you think he said that? That guy wasn't ready to follow him. He thought he had some other higher duty. He went to another guy came, oh, I'll follow you. I've done everything good all my life. Jesus said to him, okay, give your money away, then come follow me. Oh, he couldn't do that. Right now, millennials got in their brain that they have to have some high education because they got to get a good job down the road somewhere, and the only way you're going to get there is they do that. Some will make it, some will fall by the wayside, but all of them are going to go to that lake of fire. That's one place all the millennials will unite for sure, screaming and hollering intolerable pain forever and ever. It doesn't burn out. That's the lake of fire that Jesus, same Jesus tells us about the lake of fire. Let me read to you something here about hell. I know you guys don't believe it. You don't want to hear this. Let me read you a couple of verses what Jesus says. It says here, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And listen, here's your verse, millennials. Verse 15 of Revelations 20. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. That's Jesus. How can you escape the damnation of hell, Jesus says. But I will forewarn you whom you shall fear. Fear him which after he hath killed hath power to cast into hell. Yea, I say unto you, fear him. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. This hell is a real place, just like this heaven, just like this Jesus. But you don't hear that. You don't hear this fake Christian named Osteen down there in Texas saying, "Yay, man, you're going to hell." Oh, no, he won't tell you the truth. You know why? He wants to separate you from your money. Buy his books. Make them rich. Joyce Myers. Oh, man, you can never make it because you're just a victim. And she plays that victim card over and over in her books. She's got a jet plane, folks. She's right here in the state I'm in. She's 30 minutes from me down in Fenton, Missouri. Multi-million-dollar operation. You ought to see this place. It's fantastical. She's got a jet plane. And a couple of years back, you know what the head of her security did? Murdered his wife and kids. And he was working for her as the head of her security. You've seen that on the news. These people are all evil. They don't care about you at all. They want your money. That's all there is to it. They want the power and control over your life. You won't hear these people telling you to get alone with God and read His Word, the New Testament truths of Jesus, the Apostle and Evangelist. This is the only book. You are going to read it. You're going to decide. Nobody else. I just don't understand why people can't get this simple message. You're going to read the New Testament yourself. Don't tell me I can't understand. I don't know what this verse means. Love God with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength. I don't understand that. Duh. I gotta go. My wife, Selma's coming on in 10 minutes, guys. You ready for her? You ready to hear it? She got a dynamite message. Alright? I gotta go, so I'm getting off. It's 10 to 11. She'll be on in 10 minutes on Periscope. And so I'll let you go on Periscope and Facebook Live. Thank you very much. My man from Thailand again's right there. So we love you guys. We love you too, Periscope, you millennials. Grow up and love Jesus. You'll be all right.